Hello folks and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at Friends Season 1, Episode 7, The One with the Blackout. And if you're new to these videos, then hi, my name is Scott. And have you ever watched one of these shows and a little pop culture reference pops up that you're not quite sure what it's in reference to? Maybe you just haven't been exposed to that. Maybe you're from a different country, maybe from a different era, or maybe it's just something that hasn't come across your way. Well, the purpose of these videos is to look at each one of those pop culture references that pop up and then break it down to give you some context. And so when you come back to watch that episode in your personal watch through, you'll know the background to it, you'll know the context, and you'll go, I understand it a lot better and I appreciate it a lot more. And once we're done with the pop culture references, I'll go over a little bit of trivia and then give my review on the episode. And as you're watching, don't forget that the comment section is open down below. So if there are any pop culture references that you did know, feel free to let me know, but also any that you've just learned about for the first time and gone, oh my gosh, after all these years, now I finally understand it. Feel free to type it out there, hit enter, and it'll be interesting to know. And if you happen to enjoy the video, feel free to leave it a like. But also, if you don't want to miss out on future videos, why not hit the subscribe button as well? So any videos that come out to do with Friends, Gilmore Girls, or any other shows that I may be covering in the future, hit that subscribe button and you won't miss out. And something new right here, I've set up a Patreon. So if you would like to be a part of these videos, then you can support me over on Patreon, and everybody who supports, you get your names in the credits at the end of each video. And there are a few different tiers for you to choose from based on the level that you would like to support, two of which will give you access to exclusive content that won't be seen on any of my public channels. And that'll consist of short explaining joke videos, but also episode breakdowns of shows that you get to vote on. And those episode breakdowns will not appear on YouTube, they will only appear on Patreon. So if you are interested in joining, the link is in the description down below, and I'll hopefully see you over there. And that's the intro done with. So let's jump on in, and we better be quick about it because I'm afraid we might lose the lights. The episode starts and most of the gang are there to watch Phoebe perform her music.
I want to start with a song that's about that moment when you suddenly realize what life is really all about. Okay, here we go. Okay, thank you very much.
So yes, there is a citywide blackout, and it is a big deal. The episode is named after it, and the entire plot revolves around this blackout. And blackouts can happen, and they've happened in New York many times, but the reason I want to bring it up here is because it is very much a pop culture reference. Because at the time, this particular blackout in Friends was part of an event called Blackout Thursday. 20 years ago, on NBC, on Thursday nights, you had back-to-back sitcoms, all set in New York City. Mad About You, Friends, Seinfeld, and Mad Men of the People. And NBC executives wanted to find a way to make all of these shows link together in one big event to draw viewers in, to be like, oh yeah, I was there for that. And so there was this idea that there'd be a blackout seen to happen in one TV show that would then be felt in others. So on November 3rd, 1994, Blackout Thursday started with Mad About You, when Helen Hunt's character, Jamie Buckman, actually causes the power outage after messing about with cable hookups on her building's rooftop. Mad About You's meddling with the power then has a knock-on effect, as we have literally just seen in Friends. There was a notable holdout for this event. After Friends was Seinfeld, and Jerry Seinfeld wanted nothing to do with this concept. He absolutely downright refused to be part of it, and so you don't actually see the blackout in the episode of The Gymnast, which is what was shown at the time. But then after this unfortunate holdout, the lights are off again for Mad Men of the People, starring Dabney Coleman, in which the promo says he spends it in jail, busted for looting. And NBC really wanted to push this, so they made a whole promo for it, and here it is in its entirety.
Thursday, the lights go out on NBC. It's Blackout Thursday.
Blackout!
It's comedy in the dark.
Blackout.
Starting with Mad About You. And you'll never believe how this whole thing starts.
Oops.
And lights out on Friends when Chandler's trapped with a famous supermodel.
All right.
And the madman spends the blackout busted for looting.
You're sitting on my boa.
And you know, it was a success for NBC. Friends recorded an additional 5 million viewers from the week before, and even Seinfeld gained 2.5 million viewers, even though they boycotted the event. And it's one of those things that don't really happen anymore. You don't see that many shows that are interlinked, many crossovers of this big scale. I mean, you had 4 shows let's remove this one. You had 3 shows in one sitting that were all linked with this event because they were all in the same city. And so, of course, you would tune in for that evening to be like, yeah, let's experience this. Let's see how they all interlink. And of course, there are a lot more connections with Mad About You that I will be covering in later episodes. Friends and Mad About You did cross over in many ways, but this was just one of them. And you know what? This is all brand new information to me because I thought for so many years that the blackout that happens in this episode of Friends may have been an actual blackout, like an actual historical blackout in New York, one of the famous ones. I thought, oh, maybe it's because of that. So I was very excited to actually get to this episode to look up, oh, let me learn a little bit of history. And it's a different type of history than I thought. Fascinating. I am genuinely fascinated by this whole concept. And of course, we've got more references to go through, but did you know of this? Because brand new information for me. I am really happy to have looked this up because it's just expanded my mind so much. But whilst we've still got the power on, let's move to the next one. And as a result of the blackout, Chandler finds himself trapped in an ATM vestibule. Or is it an atrium? Yeah, because that's what's important.
Oh my God, it's her. It's that Victoria's Secret model, something Goodacre.
Hi, Mom, it's Jill.
She's right, it's Jill. Jill Goodacre.
So this is Jill Goodacre. She's a real person. She's appearing as herself, and she's an American former model and actress, best known for her work as a prominent Victoria's Secret model in the 1980s and the 1990s. The company was relatively new, with only a few stores around, and it was Jill's work alongside Stephanie Seymour and Dutch model Frederique that helped the brand rise to prominence as one of the world's giants in women's lingerie, swimwear, and clothing. And you may wonder, when you watch the ending, why she's credited as Jill Connick. Well, only a few months before this episode aired, Jill got married to singer and actor Harry Connick Jr. and took his last name. So she is referred to as Jill Goodacre in the show because that is how the public would have known her, but she wanted her professional credit to be under her new name, Jill Connick. So yeah, sorry Chandler, you never really stood a chance. She just got married. There's a blackout, so of course none of the lights are working. So how else are you supposed to get things illuminated?
And officiating at tonight's blackout is Rabbi Tribbiani.
Well, Chandler's old roommate was Jewish, and these are the only candles we have, so happy Hanukkah, everyone.
So what Joey has just brought in is a menorah, a candelabrum with significant religious and cultural meaning for the Jewish faith. And there are 2 types of menorahs, one with 7 branches and one with 9. And the one that Joey has 7, which means it is a temple menorah. And the temple menorah is incredibly symbolic as it was used to illuminate the interior of the Temple of Jerusalem and today represents light, wisdom, and divine inspiration and is one of the most recognized symbols in Judaism. And its specific design was in fact laid out in the Torah, one of Judaism's holy books. And if you will permit me, I will read out the description now. Make a lampstand of pure gold. Hammer out its base and shaft, and make its flower-like cups, buds, and blossoms of one piece with them. 6 branches are to extend from the sides of the lampstand, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. 3 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms are to be on one branch, 3 on the next, and the same for all 6 branches extending from the lampstand. And on the lampstand are to be 4 cups shaped like almond flowers with buds and blossoms. 1 bud shall be under the first pair of branches extending from the lamp, a 2nd bud under the 2nd pair, and a 3rd under the 3rd pair. 6 branches in all. The buds and branches shall be all one piece with the lampstand, hammered out of pure gold. Then make its 7 lamps and set them up on it so that they light the space in front of it. Its wick trimmers and trays are to be of pure gold. A talent of pure gold is to be used for the lampstand and all these accessories. See that you make them according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. And this account is from Moses, who said that God told him specifically these exact plans. And so, of course, it is incredibly deifically important and symbolic because it is one of God's plans made real. But in this scene, there is a little bit of a mistake because Joey says, Happy Hanukkah. Well, for Hanukkah, you do use a menorah, but you use a 9-branched menorah. And Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights, is an 8-day Jewish holiday that commemorates the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem after its defilement by foreign forces. The holiday celebrates the Maccabees' victory in the 2nd century BCE and the miracle that followed. The miracle being that when the Jews sought to relight the temple's menorah, they found only a small amount of consecrated oil, only enough to last 1 day. But miraculously, that oil burned for 8 days until more could be prepared. And that is why Hanukkah lasts 8 days. And that is why a Hanukkah menorah has more branches than a temple menorah, because the miracle of the oil lasting 8 days is now represented in the 8 branches on the menorah, and then there is one in the middle called a shamash, which is used to light the other candles as you go through. And though it is just meant to be a joke because Joey has walked in carrying this very identifiably Jewish piece of furniture and then saying, oh, happy Hanukkah, as in to tie it all together, there is a little bit of difference. If we're being a stickler about it, there is a difference. That is a temple menorah. Hanukkah has 9. Never mind, we'll just move on. But I am counting that as 2 references right there because I did explain what a menorah was and what Hanukkah was. So 1 and 2. There we go. So to pass the time until the TV comes back on, the gang are sharing stories about the strangest place that they've done the business.
Ross?
Disneyland. 1989, it's a small world after all.
No way.
Yeah, the ride broke down, so Carol and I went behind a couple of those mechanical Dutch children. And they fixed the ride, and we were asked never to return to the Magic Kingdom.
So the ride that Ross and Carol got kicked off from is It's a Small World, which is a popular boat ride attraction found in several Disney theme parks across the world. The ride features animatronic dolls representing children from different cultures and countries, all singing the famous song, It's a Small World After All. I think I've got the tune wrong there, but anyway. Created by the Sherman Brothers, the song emphasizes global unity, peace, and friendship. The ride debuted at the 1964 New York World's Fair, designed by Walt Disney and his team to promote international harmony. Each section of the ride represents a different part of the world, with colorful, whimsical scenes depicting the unique traditions, costumes, and landscapes of various countries. And as guests float through the ride, they experience a celebration of cultural diversity, symbolizing the message that despite our differences, we all share the same world. The iconic attraction is known for its catchy tune, its vibrant visuals, and its message of unity and togetherness. But I don't think the type of togetherness that they were hoping for was of Ross and Carol getting very together behind some animatronic Dutch children. And if I were Ross, I'd be very grateful it was only the world they called small. Ross is trying to ask out Rachel, but unfortunately, he gets interrupted. And whilst the interruption goes on in the background, the rest of the group are having a little sing-song.
Top of the world looking down on creation.
Can we just appreciate how fantastically ridiculous that physical comedy is going on in the background? Because, I mean, that cat, that dummy cat is being flung about like no one's business. It is ridiculous. It is over the top. Like, you can see it is a stuffed animal, but it is absolutely fantastic. So the song that was being sung was Top of the World by The Carpenters. It was part of their 1972 album, A Song for You, and they only originally intended it to be an album song, but when country and western singer Lynn Anderson covered it and it got to number 2 in the country charts, the Carpenters went, do you know what? Actually, maybe we could release this as a single. They did in 1973, and it reached number 1 in the Billboard charts for 2 consecutive weeks. So yes, a rather upbeat song to be playing amongst all of this gloom, but just a little factoid for you here. This is the only time in the entire series that Phoebe plays a song that isn't hers. It's the only time you hear her playing and singing a song that was written by somebody else. You could technically say she was singing a Lionel Richie song when she does the duet with Chandler, but I wouldn't say that because I really want this to be the factoid. So this is the only time, because she's also playing guitar as well. She is fully in the song. She was only there for accompaniment when she was with Chandler and he's holding the album cover. No. That was just accompaniment. This is her singing the only time a song, oh, the sentence has gone wrong. Singing a song that isn't hers. There we go. I'm just going to move on. Yeah. Ross got scratched up pretty bad by that cat, and Monica is administering some first aid.
All right, this is just Bactine. It won't hurt.
Ow. Sorry, that was wax.
Bactine is the trade name for a treatment that was first developed in 1947, and it usually comes in the form of a liquid that you can either just administer with droplets or spray, as Monica is doing right there. And it is a combination of, and I need to read this out on the screen because it's a difficult word, benzalkonium chloride and lidocaine. So benzalkonium chloride is a type of antiseptic. So if you have any cuts or grazes, that will help to disinfect the area and stop any infections. And then the lidocaine is a topical anesthetic. So it helps numb the area of any pain. So that 2-in-1 combo is actually pretty good because you are protecting yourself from any future infections, anything that might have got into a cut or a scratch, but also you are numbing the area as well. So the actual scratch doesn't hurt that much. And so it may just sting a little bit, but probably not as bad as hot wax dripping on your neck without your knowledge. And there we go, my friends. That is every pop culture reference in Friends Season 1, Episode 7, the one with the blackout. And oh goodness, I really love this episode. It is one of my favorite episodes. But before I talk about it more, let's tally up how many pop culture references were covered. It's evident that their priorities were focused more on getting through the blackout rather than making pop culture references because there weren't that many in all. And for Season 1, Episode 7, we have a grand total of 7 pop culture references. There we go, it ties up nicely, 7 for episode 7. And so when we take a look at the scoreboard and where that stands in the rankings, this episode comes in 5th place. So not the fewest, but also not the most. Let's see how it goes on as we go through the seasons. But enough with the pop culture references, let's take a look at a little bit of trivia. So apparently, it was this episode that coined the term friend zone, which later became mainstream terminology. Just for context, here's it being said.
Because you waited too long to make your move, and now you're in the friend zone.
And so how incredible that it was that really propelled it into mainstream terminology. I mean, did it actually coin it? Apparently, I've been looking and it says this is where it originated. Maybe one of the writers kind of heard it just bandied about in casual conversation and put it in, or it was just designed for this. Either way, I'm sure many of us have experienced what that has been. Do you know what? Let's not go down that route. Let's go on to the next bit of trivia. So Cosimo Fusco, who played Paolo, improvised almost every one of his lines. The directors told him to say anything he wanted in Italian, and it speaks to the professionalism of the actor that he only said lines that were relevant to what was going on. And if you wanted a translation of what he was saying, when he introduces himself to the guys, he says, "Hi guys, I just moved in and I live in the floor below this, so I guess we'll see quite a lot of each other." When Rachel introduces Paolo to Phoebe, he says, "Phoebe, you're gorgeous too. If you're all this beautiful, I'll move right here." And then when he's serenading Rachel out on the balcony, he says, "Look at the moon. Look at the stars. Look at everything that's beautiful." Fair play, because the thing is, if not a lot of people understood Italian and you just had the opportunity to improvise whatever you wanted, he could have slipped anything in there. Anything. But fair play to him for not making any other trivia that'd be like, oh, actually, he went and said some pretty unbelievable things and he hoped no one would notice. He hoped nobody would speak Italian. So fair enough that he actually did that. Now, this one is a little bit of written trivia, but I find it kind of difficult to get my head around. This episode is only one of 3. The other 2 are the one with Phoebe's ex-partner in Season 3, Episode 14, and the one with the red sweater, Season 8, Episode 2, to feature a scene shared between just Monica, Phoebe, and Joey. That is really difficult to get my head around, and I can't believe that's correct. You're telling me there's only 3 scenes in 10 years worth of episodes, 230 odd episodes, that there's a combination of those 3 characters? No, I can't believe that's true. If it is, that's unbelievable. Why not that matchup? That's so bizarre if it's true. That's so bizarre if true. I'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that. And if it turns out when we get to the end of doing all these videos that there are only 3, fair enough. Fair enough. And finally, this was Matthew Perry's favourite episode. And good reason to as well, because he was fantastic in this. The whole voiceover element to it and him basically being away from the rest of the group. It was kind of like his own show for a little bit. He didn't share any scenes with the rest of the gang. Yeah, and fair enough, because he does a fantastic job in this episode. But yeah. And now we are done with the trivia, and now my review on this episode. I do genuinely love this episode. I think it's one of the best of season 1, and season 1 for me is one of the best seasons of the entire show. And so, of course, it's right up there just by, going on the maths of it. And it's because it is full of so many fantastic little set pieces. When I was watching it through, I was cackling because I realized there are so many quotes that I say and there are so many references I make that are from this episode. It is just chock full. You can't go through it without so many iconic little scenes. I mean, basically everything Chandler does in his one little box set, and that just shows how great an actor and performer Matthew Perry was, because him being in just a little box right there with one playing partner who doesn't have a lot of lines, and all he is doing is having to act for the majority of it off a voiceover, a pre-recorded voiceover. It just shows how brilliant a comedic actor he was, because it's the voiceover that really makes it. It really makes it, because the juxtaposition of having an internal monologue that the audience and obviously the character who has it are privy to, then putting that against the, closed off demeanor that he actually is showing, the outward appearance, it just makes a pure comedy. Like the bit where Jill is on the phone and she says, "Oh, do you want to call anyone?" And he's just there and he goes, "Yeah, about 300 guys I went to high school with." That gets such a huge laugh because Chandler is stony-faced. He's just thinking, and you hear this absolutely cracking line. And then the whole bit when he's chewing the gum. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And the whole bit when he spits it out. Oh, so impish. And then he's chewing it and he's somebody else's gum, and the way he reacts to it. Absolutely fantastic. And the whole bit when he's on the phone with Joey as well, that is absolutely brilliant as well. Honestly, there's just so many brilliant bits in this episode. My favorite, I would say, and it gets such a huge laugh in the show as well, is when Rachel and Ross are sitting at the front of the apartment and they're talking to one another and they're sharing a moment, and it's really nice, and you can see the foundations being laid for the romance that will happen later on. And Rachel leaves and Ross gets up and he's so perky and he's so happy with himself, and he does a little jaunty walk, and Joey just goes, "Never gonna happen." Oh my god, it is so perfectly delivered. It is so perfectly cut through all of the sentiment, and it gets such a huge laugh. And then Ross goes, "Why not?" That is absolutely fantastic delivery from David Schwimmer right there, because he's just like, what? He's doing that whole like, "What you want about me? No, surely." And then just straight to it, cuts through, "Why not?" Like, okay, I'm not going to play the pretense, just bam. And then the whole bit between Joey and Ross, it is just, I really love this episode. And the thing is, there's nothing really that deep to this episode. When I do these reviews at the end of these videos, I usually talk about, some of the strong themes that are coming through, the overarching of the stories, anything dramaturgically that is really wonderful or stands out. But with this particular episode, it doesn't really move the ball along that much. It is just full of great moments. I mean, there's nothing with Chandler that develops. There's nothing with Joey that develops, Monica that develops, Phoebe that develops. The only thing that does develop is Ross and Rachel. Ross kind of develops a little bit as he, gets the courage up in order to try and broach actually making a move on Rachel. And then Rachel ends up getting with Paolo at the very end of the episode. So there is a little bit of humor there when we see the jealousy of Ross going, "Oh, who's this guy?" And he was just about to make a move. I mean, like, that must be gutting. And especially at the end when he does the laugh and then the lights come on and he's just like clutching his chest, because that pain. I have actually been in that situation where I had a crush on a girl, and I thought things were going well, and we all went to the pub together, and there was a big group of us, and I turned and saw that she was making out with someone else, and I was like, ugh. And I walked home, and yeah, good job it was raining because it covered up the tears. But anyway, I get Ross in that situation, but it only happens right at the end. It just punctuates it right at the end. So again, there's not really much of an emotional draw all the way through. It is just very light, which is ironic because it's very dark, but it is just so frothy and funny and brilliant. And yeah, it is the highest rated episode for season 1, and rightly so, because it is one of the best episodes within this season and just one of the best episodes in the show overall. And there we go, folks. That is the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget that the comment section is open down below, so feel free to leave your thoughts in there. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. And if you don't want to miss out on any other future videos, why not hit the subscribe button as well, so that any Friends videos, Gilmore Girls videos, or any other shows that'll be coming out in the future, you won't miss out because you'll hit the subscribe button and it'll pop up in your feed when these videos come out. And as I said at the top of the video, I've also set up a Patreon as well. So if you want to show further support for me as I make these videos and go through all the episodes, then feel free to sign up there to any of the tiers. And this is the point where your name will appear in the credits as a special thanks for supporting me and a special thanks for being here on this journey, because whoo-wee, do we have a lot more episodes to go through. And that is me done with the outro. And you know what? I'm going to unplug the colorful light because it's meant to be for outdoors. And I'm worried now, especially after watching this episode, that that may cause a blackout within my apartment. So I'm just going to unplug that real quick. But before I do, I'm going to say thank you so much again for being here. My friends, luck and more to you all, and catch you next time.